Essex, a helping hand with your land.
Neil from Essex here. About a month ago, we put up a YouTube video asking for some of your questions that you would like to have answers to. Gonna take a couple minutes today, go through and respond to some of those things, see if we can help answer the questions that you have about your equipment.
I've got a new Kubota Z411. I believe it's last year's model because it doesn't have the colored seat. But my question is, with the lap bars, there's a lot of movement forward and backwards. And with this big old case I got here in the front, I was wondering how can I adjust it where the movement is minimal, maybe 5 to 6 inches frontwards or backwards, to get the same effect as this long throw and the short throw. Thanks.
Thank you, Jeff, for taking the time and sending the video in. This is how I would like to set up segments like these. So if you want to ask a question here to have me respond to, doing what Jeff did here and sending in a video clip, I think is the most engaging way in order to watch this. So thank you. When it comes to these sticks, probably not a whole lot that can be done about the amount of travel from front to back, short of having to go in and move some hinge points and stuff down below here. But I would then worry about also having to change out dampers and that kind of thing. If you look at the amount of force that you have when you're pushing against here, having a shorter throw is going to then mess with the dampers and stuff too. But for your sizable keg that you carry around there, there are some adjustments down here at the side that you can move these lap bars forward to give yourself a little bit more space. So you can see for somebody like myself, this is even a little tight for me coming back here in reverse. You could take these nuts down here and they're going to allow you to be able to adjust these bars forward or back to kind of put them into a comfortable place, since everybody's dimensions here sitting on the machine are a little bit different. I had two related questions from Bob Smithereens and Trent Ellswick, asking a little bit about what I do here. Some guys seem to be under the impression that YouTube is my job, and in fact it's not. I only spend a couple hours every month working on these videos. A lot of the heavy lifting is actually done by some other guys who do a lot of video editing and kind of help out with this process. As one of the owners of the company, in many small business type scenarios, you just kind of show up for work many days and see where the day takes you. End up being a catch-all for a lot of different things. But my main roles here are to take care of the IT side of the business. I'm actually have a background in IT and computer programming. Take care of the marketing side, we manage budgets, what the things that the company is going to be doing as far as marketing efforts, and then take care of a lot of the back office work and our relationship with Kubota specifically. So there's actually 5 of us that, like me, are third generation Messiks in this business, and we split up different brands and each of us has different responsibilities within the dealership. I, on my side, take care of that business relationship with Kubota, and you can kind of see that in the videos that we do here. Obviously that's where my comfort level is, because that's where I spend most of my time, but that's not necessarily reflective of everything that our dealership does. Trent here in particular asked that if I was not in this industry, what would I be doing? Like I said, my background was in computer programming. One of our family requirements was that we work somewhere else before coming into this business. Before I made the choice to come here, I worked in a number of different fields, but all in IT. So I sold computers at Circuit City for a while. I worked for a bridge engineering company in their IT support department. I worked for a contract company for a while, doing a lot of contract work for the state and insurance companies, but all of those things under IT. But my dream job, if I could choose it, would be down here. There's a company in Lidditz called Clare Brothers that does a lot of sound systems, staging, professional sound type stuff, a lot of technology in the backside of that company. I would love to work for those guys. Professional audio is something that I enjoy doing as a hobby on the side and have done for quite a while. A question from Kelly Parsons about why Kubota has not made a third function kit for the L3901 with the Backhoe that doesn't require buying extra fittings. You're gonna notice across pretty well every company that offers third function kits for any tractor, there are no provisions made for a backhoe. It's a good reason for that, and it's because the fittings are not that cut and dry. Nobody can go and say, put exactly the right hoses and fittings in the box that you need for that application, because there's variety in the models of the backhoes that might be used, the vendors of those backhoes. It's not the same from one to the next. You'll notice those footnotes when you look at third function kits that they're not compatible with backhoes. The only reason for that is because the third function kit and the backhoe both tap into the same port, and so teeing that port becomes necessary but that T is not the same fitting, not the same hose every time. Don Bruchner asks that appears to be a shortage of young people going into hands-on trades, and what are we doing specifically to rectify that situation? That is a real issue across a number of trade-like industries. It's an issue for us as well, be it service technicians, parts guys, whatever. It is hard to draw people into those more trade blue-collar oriented type industries. What are we doing specifically here? YouTube videos, for one. I've done a couple videos now on explaining the kinds of jobs and the variety of roles that you can find inside of a dealership. But beyond that, our dealership and some other neighboring ones here also have partnered with the state of Pennsylvania to start a legitimate apprenticeship program to get people into these type of job roles, specifically on the mechanic side of things. We have a couple of guys in that program right now actually that are working their way through and will come out with an actual apprenticeship certificate at the end of that. So if you are a young person, you're watching these videos and that is something that is appealing to you, it's a really good way to get a very fairly priced and expensive education that can pay you very well on the backside without all the debt and overhead of college might put on you. And that's something that our dealership is helping to kickstart, and we're kind of hopeful for where that might go in the future. Lastly, I received an email here from Chris DeHaven. Chris has actually got a YouTube channel of his own, DeHaven Family Farms, if you want to check him out. Several of the pieces of equipment that he runs are things that have come from us. He sent me a lot of good topic ideas here. Some of them are going to end up being full videos in the future, but one of them that I can address here quickly is a little bit of advice on what to look for when choosing a dealership to purchase from. That can be a little bit of a tricky thing, right? The best thing, and the one thing that I think a lot of guys really miss when they're shopping for equipment, is that they really start by looking at the equipment itself as being their primary purchase factor, right? It's, you decide you're gonna buy a round baler or whatever, and the very first thing that they do is go through and start looking at the brands of round balers that are on the market, as opposed to starting by looking at the dealerships that they could potentially purchase that piece of equipment from, and then limiting to their selections to the product lines that those dealerships offer. I don't want to overvalue us just because this is what we do necessarily, right? But the right piece of equipment purchased from the wrong dealership can really leave you with a lot of problems, right? All equipment at some point is going to give you problems at some point as it ages, right? Not one of these manufacturers makes anything that's perfectly infallible front to back. It's simply not reality. And so I would always encourage guys by starting by looking at dealerships. So start by, talking to your neighbors, other people in the area, people that run similar type equipment. Check out some of the information that you'll see online, Google reviews and that kind of stuff. Often guys, when they have a problem, they go there to complain, right? So you usually find a lot of complaints and not a whole lot of positive things. So keep that in mind. But start there, get a sense for that dealership, and then visit that dealership, right? Go in, talk to their salespeople, get a sense, does the sales guy actually know his products? Does he have the chops and the knowledge that it takes to recommend the right thing for you? A lot of these machines are highly customizable, be it a small tractor or go back to that round baler again. It's not unusual for there to be 12 or 15 options on a round baler. To make sure, do they know their product, and are they going to configure this thing and sell the right piece of equipment to you? Take a look at their parts department, peer behind the counter back there. Is it clean and organized? Is there dust on the floor? Kind of get a sense of the kind of operation they run when you look back there. Take a look at the parts counter guys. Are they clean and professional, or do they look like somebody that they just rolled off the street here the other day that doesn't understand the industry and the equipment? Find a way to get back into the shop if you can do that. Again, same thing, look inside. Is it clean? Is it well organized? Just gauge that operation. To me, cleanliness says a lot about a dealership, and it tells you a lot about how they care for their operation, and also has a lot to do with the dealership's efficiency. An operation that's not clean and well organized and well run is not a well-oiled machine fundamentally. So those kinds of things, without having to interrogate every one of your neighbors, can tell you a lot just simply by going and walking around and trying to get that sense. And spend time there. Very few of the transactions we do are one-time purchases, right? Somebody doesn't just walk in the door and decide to walk out of here with a $100,000 piece of equipment. Generally you're in 2-3 times, several times, in order to try to build that relationship and feel those things out. So don't feel like you got to walk in there and absorb everything in one shot. shot. Take your time and learn the people that you're working with. So that's responding to a handful of questions. If you like this format and you'd like to ask me a question to respond to on video, I have an email address set up, youtube@messick's.com. If you want to go ahead and fire some questions over there, I'd love to respond to them for you. And if you could do it with a video clip, I think that's even better. That's a lot more engaging for you guys to be able to watch. And I think we could do some really interesting stuff, say answering questions about your equipment, or say filming your property and asking for a product recommendation. Could kind of turn into a cool series here if we're able to engage on those kinds of things. So if you have a piece of equipment that you've already got that you have parts or service needs for, or if you're shopping for a piece of equipment and we can help, give us a call at Messick's. We're available at 800-222-3373 or online at messick's.com.